Week 3 is in the books. Some of us are looking at our best ball teams and we're a little down, a little downtrodden, a little upset, sad, all the adjectives and non adjectives and verbs and nouns. Whatever you're feeling, it's melancholy. But we're here to save you because Underdog has released the resurrection draft. And now we can throw more money into best ball. So let's do it.
Three, two, one, liftoff.
Welcome in, everybody, to our Tuesday night show. As you can see, Eric Beinfor was unable to make it tonight. So I decided, let's change things for this particular Tuesday night just a little bit. Let's do an Underdog resurrection draft. And to join me, I figured let's bring someone that was working hard behind the scenes all summer. You heard his voice on a lot of the shorts. He was doing a lot of the video production. I am, of course, talking about Jesse Wilkins. Jesse, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. I've always wondered what it would be like to do a live stream with you on a Tuesday. And so now I'm fulfilling those dreams. And it's a dream.
Yeah. It's a fact that we've never live streamed on every single Tuesday for the past 2 years. But here we are doing something completely different where we're going to be talking about football. How is your best ball season going as of right now?
I try not to get like overly hyped about my teams this early in best ball because I know that none of this really matters yet, and it's what's going to happen in a few weeks. But I mean, knock on wood, I've avoided a lot of those major injuries for the most part, and I've got a bunch of teams that seem to be doing really well. A whole bunch of them just with the number 1 spot, number 2, number 3. So as it stands right now, I'm in the green, but we'll wait and see because I'm not gonna push it too far, you know.
Yeah, it is week 3. So before we jump into this draft, one thing that I want to share is we did talk about how I was going to start doing like a weekly update on the Mastiff team, which was the $1,000 buy-in. So we'll quickly look at this. And this is the format where it's a bit different. Like we had people that were shitting on this team within the draft stream for it on different ones because they were like, this team sucks, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you guys aren't understanding what this team is getting drafted for. It's the top 6 out of 12 advanced. This isn't the standard advance rate stuff. So we're going to take a quick pop into it. As you guys can see on screen right now, the draft, I am in 3rd of 12 with 364 points, which is very nice. Again, top 6 advanced. So let's just dive into the team. So the team is Mahomes, Pollard, Breece Hall, rest in peace, J.K. Dobbins, Roshan Johnson, Tyjae Spears, Kyron Williams, Deebo Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore, Tyler Boyd, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, MVS, Donovan Peoples-Jones, George Kittle, Hunter Henry, and Trey McBride. And as I've looked at this team over the past few weeks, the guy that sticks out like a sore thumb to me is Donovan Peoples-Jones. I understand why I drafted him and the thought process behind it. But there were so many other picks right there for wide receiver that it's just like every time I look at this team and I think about the guys that he could have been, kind of really sticks out. But all in all, losing J.K. Dobbins, I think grabbing Kyron with my last pick, which was like debatable at the time, makes this team, I feel really good about it. It is the single quarterback team with Mahomes, but wanted to share that. Do you hate my $1,000 Mastiff team, Jesse?
I hated it until I saw Williams, and all I could think about when I was watching Williams, who looks really, really good, was how much I wish I had more Williams. I think I have a little bit of them, but not much at all. So I'm not crazy about your wide receiver core, but it could go well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And I'm not even that down on Donovan Peoples-Jones. Like I understand that there were other picks in that area that could have been better, but the numbers aren't crazy, but he actually looks pretty good out there. So I think it could actually end up being a good season for him. I don't think it's a bust just yet.
Well, I think the Nick Chubb injury might help that quite a bit because it did look like they were letting Deshaun throw a little bit more. Now you do have Amari Cooper. You do have Elijah Moore out there getting a lot of the run, but they did throw a bit more this past Sunday. That could be because Tennessee's run defense is so good. The Cleveland Browns are an interesting team, and it is going to be interesting to see how they evolve without Nick Chubb. And hopefully, for that particular team, it involves Donovan Peoples-Jones. So we are jumped into this resurrection draft. It is a $10 draft. First place is for $30,000. We're waiting on 6 people. So if you want to jump in, now is the time to jump in. The water is warm. We can go over some of the rules for this if you guys would like while we wait. Let me pull them
Yeah, you
up.
could pull that up. But let's go back to Cleveland because it is interesting to look at. And I understand that Nick Chubb is out. We obviously heard that news, but Deshaun Watson it's been such a slow comeback, and people thought he'd be right back into it. Like, what were you doing all this time off? Like, you had all this time to study and learn, but it seems like his quarterback vision is taking such a slow time to bounce back. I mean, it used to be he'd be that guy who the play would break down, he would scramble around, and his head would be on a swivel. He'd be looking around, figuring out what his options are, and he just doesn't seem to be that guy anymore. He's either throwing the ball away, he's running around, he's getting sacked. He does not look as good as he did when he was with the Texans. And it's I don't know, it's kind of scary to watch, but again, he's throwing the ball a little bit more, and hopefully as the weeks go, he'll get better and better with it, but he just doesn't seem to be the same guy that he was.
Yeah. And just real quick, this is top 2 advance out of this through the first round. It starts in week 6. So scoring doesn't start till week 6. We are in the draft now. We actually didn't get a bottom 3 pick. We got a top 5 pick. I'm going to be honest. I, on purpose, did not look at any ADP or anything for this. We are going to be walking through this together for the first time and kind of figuring this all out as we go through it and adjusting on the fly. Have you done any of these resurrection drafts yet, Jesse?
Not yet, but just looking at the board right now, my oh my, how they have shuffled. So it was just so automatic. 1 spot, 2 spot would be Jamar Chase. Obviously, 1 spot would be Justin Jefferson.
Yep. And
then 3 spot, you saw either Christian McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill going, but it's interesting how it has completely shuffled here. You see Stephon Diggs has moved up. Jamar Chase has obviously moved down. Bijan has moved up. I think I said his name right. Bijan. That's how they want it.
I think that's how he is wanting it to be said. Mm-hmm. So we see McCaffrey go 101. We see Tyreek go at the 102 with Jefferson 103, which is really interesting.
I'm still kind of surprised because he did get banged up a little bit last week, but he did go back into the game. But it was a little bit scary for everybody. Apparently, it was just cramps. So, but still terrifying.
All right, we're on the clock. We see Kelsey. We see Chase on board. Do you have a preference between either of those two?
Joe Burrow has not looked good. He is banged up. I think we still go. I would still go Chase here, but I'm not opposed to Kelsey.
What I don't understand is why is Pollard not higher on this one? Why is Pollard still back end of the first round? I feel like he should be right at this Travis Kelce, Jamar Chase range after what we're seeing with him. We'll take Chase, but just as an initial outlook, Pollard to me, I mean, you got Bijan going at 104. Shouldn't Pollard be right there? That seems.
You'd think so, especially with. I mean, he's still below Eckler, who is injured. Obviously, he looked good in week 1. But I would take Pollard over Eckler, I think.
Yeah, and it does look like Eckler is going to be back week 6 most likely. So right in time for this tournament to start. We do see Camden take Pollard at the 107, which seems real smart. So that might be something that I would try to take advantage of if I'm looking for like exploitable spots in this tournament. If you're going to be able to get Tony Pollard at the back end of drafts and pair him with somebody at that back end, because it feels like Pollard's going to move up this board. I just can't imagine him not moving up to this, at least 105 range, 106 at minimum.
Especially on Underdog. I could understand on maybe DraftKings if he's a little bit lower, but I mean, he can catch passes too. So,
yeah, it's crazy. So we're looking through this draft. We see Eckler go at the 109, which if anybody's job is ever safe when they come back, it is Austin Eckler, because Joshua Kelly looks like a running pile of shit out there, to be completely honest. Like, this dude is doing nothing with this opportunity, and he's gonna probably get one more opportunity this week because I believe they're playing the Raiders offhand. Uh, but God, does he look bad. He should have just smashed last week. Everybody was playing him. Second week in a row they're playing him in DFS, and he makes a lot of people poor, including myself. Thank God I finally almost binked a tournament last night. I came in 17th in a single entry, $50 single entry on DK with Joe Burrow as my quarterback. So we came close to binking without even having Jalen Hurts, which was fun. But yeah, Kelly just ruining lineups.
Yeah.
Waddle going at the 1-2 turn still is interesting with the injury. Although I guess the upside from Miami is just like there isn't a higher upside team in the league right now.
It's a
So
team that can hang 70 on you. It's
literally, I guess.
at this point, I'm sitting here. It's like, you know, I was really interested to see what everyone's takes would be on Devon Achane or some of these other pieces in Miami, because it was just such an insane game. And it's like, this is what the Devon Achane people is that how I say it?
Sounds so weird.
This is what we've been waiting for, right? I have like 78% exposure on this man. I've been like, yes, finally. But again, it's like, what are your takeaways on this? How do you actually look at a 70-point game for a player like A-Chain? It's like, was it actually his breakout game, or is this just the effect of a team that put up 70 points? The defense they were all blindfolded out there. I don't know. Actually, I think we know less about Devon Achane than we did before this week. It's tricky.
I wouldn't agree with that. What I would say is they saw the potential, so they got to get him out there, and actually, I think he's locking up his spot. I still think it's Mostert for the most part, for the majority of the work, but I think that we are going to see Achane. God, I hate it. I hate saying his name. All right, we are on the clock. We've got Ridley on board. We got Garrett Wilson. We could go QB. I think we go Calvin Ridley here.
I would go T Higgins. Oh wait, do we have Chase?
We do have Chase.
I don't want to. Yeah, okay, then we go Ridley.
I mean, we could go Higgins, but Higgins might even come back, and then we would look at the double stack at that point.
Yeah, he might come back, but at this point, do we even want to stack him with? I think I'd rather stack Chase with Higgins than with Joe Burrow right now.
I do think, to your point though, the Achane overreaction, and to investor better's point, I want to see where he's going in this particular draft, because although I think he's gotten himself a role going forward, these are the things in these particular tournaments that you can see overreaction to over the next few weeks. ADP is going to constantly be shuffling after Sunday and Monday when players have big games or, absolute duds. So where he ends up going in this draft is going to be an interesting thing to see.
It is, and this is why it's so challenging when a game like that happens, is because yes, he had his breakout game, and it was just shadowed by a 4 touchdown game from Mostert. So it's like, great, you had a good game, but the other guy had a monumental career day. So it's, where does that actually set you on the day, on the game plan?
I think he's still going to probably get like 30% of the work out of that backfield, and with the opportunity to take more of it as the season progresses. I just don't know why it seems like they were babying him along a little bit with the bringing in some of the other backups over there, like Savon Ahmed and stuff like that. So I think you're just going to see it be a 2-headed monster right now. The only question is what happens if and when Jeff Wilson comes back, but I don't think I'm super worried about that currently. So in this draft, we do see the quarterbacks falling back a little bit versus where they were in the offseason, where like Mahomes and Hurts were almost always second rounders to early third rounders. We're seeing them get pushed ADP wise to the mid third. I think that's a reaction to the offenses not being as explosive for these guys as anticipated. But I mean, these guys are still supplying you with like really good floors. Like, the question for me was like, are you uncomfortable with how much Mahomes you have? It's like, guys, he's hit his floor. His floor is 20 points every week. They haven't even had an explosion game yet. He's had like 20, 22, and 25 points. And he came off the field in the third quarter. So I'm still okay with taking some of these early quarterbacks. I'm not going to change my mind on that quite yet, but it is interesting to see the slide a little bit. And we do see Garrett Wilson sliding too, considering he doesn't have a quarterback as well.
Not at all. I mean, yeah, he was late first round, early second round in most drafts, and along with the quarterbacks as well, like you said, there were some drafts I was seeing them go in the first round, late first round. So now it's kind of nice because it's kind of returned to like normal drafts, right, where you can get your elite quarterback in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, last year we were getting him a decent amount of time in the fifth, but we also weren't considering Jalen Hurts elite last year. Is the other thing. So third, fourth round for these quarterbacks. I think that we should, as much as I want to go quarterback here, Jose Flowers in the third. That's interesting. I think we should grab Mark Andrews here. Do you have any opposition to that?
I would say either him or Gibbs or Stevenson, although Stevenson's had a slow start. So I think I'm fine with Mark Andrews.
I think we can grab Mark Andrews here. This tight end position is absolute dog shit yet again. Like, we're just getting, other than like Sam Laporta coming on, the position just feels awful. So I know Andrews hasn't had an explosive season yet, but he's still one of the upside guys. He's still going to get the work. And I still have my fingers crossed that the Baltimore Ravens can get this together and actually become a viable offense. Artie is saying there's no way that Justin Fields stays at ADP of 44. Yeah, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that happening. Oh, yeah. So we're going off like old rankings here. So there is probably some exploitable spots within these rankings that I kind of wish that I did look through. I just saw one as I was scrolling that I think is a big exploit. And we might be looking at that at our next pick. So I'm going to keep that to myself for the moment. So after we take Mark Andrews, we do see Mahomes, Hurts, and Allen go back to back to back. The Mahomes pick makes sense because it gets paired with Travis Kelce. Hurts with Devonta Smith also makes sense, and Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs. So all checks out. That all checks out. The exploitable spot I was talking about was Kenneth Walker, but Marshall Faulk here, going with his name, grabs his third running back with Eckler, Barkley, and Kenneth Walker. So I think Kenneth Walker getting pulled up to the third round makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, big trucking was big sweating, waiting to see whether or not we grab Mahomes there. I could tell he was relieved about that.
Yeah, I could have done it. We could have done it. We had Jamar Chase. That's the week 17 bring back, right? It was definitely on the table for us. But I think this is like one of those situations where if you do grab Jamar Chase, you can push Joe Burrow down a little bit because people are worried about the calf, which understandably so, but I think that is going to correct itself.
And they're probably also worried about the fact that he has a 3-point week and an 8-point week, but he's Joe Burrow. He's going to bounce back. It's going to be fine. There's wait for that injury to clear up.
Yes. So we see Aaron Jones go in the fourth round, which is pretty interesting when he has the hamstring injury. So you do see smart drafters in here. They're not concerned with these injuries when these tournaments are starting in week 6. They understand how to exploit the ADP of that. So that's pretty good. I do have a lot of stuff that I like that is on board for when it comes back to us. Sorry, I'm not putting the draft board up as much. I'm trying to look at these ADPs as well, just to kind of see what we're dealing with, what I think is mispriced. And so we do see Jerome Ford way up here right now at ADP 67. So there is some movement within these ADPs, but I still think there's some exploitable points.
There's got to be with Ford, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Derrick Henry's still on board. Derrick Henry does not look good this year as of right now.
Really bad week this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, kind of expected against the Cleveland Browns, but dude, he's averaging like 3 yards a carry, I believe. He hasn't had a 100-yard game yet. He appears to be slowing down. So he's dropping quite a bit because he was late second round pick in the preseason one. So we're looking at him go right here at the middle of the fourth round. I think we take Gibbs or Ramondre here. Do you have a lean?
Man, Zeke just looks so much better than Ramondre right now, doesn't he? But I mean, the Patriots have had a very rough. They have probably the toughest schedule in the NFL. I'm going to go Ramondre here. I'm going to keep my faith in him. I think it's the play. He's going to bounce back. It's been a slow start, but again, really tough first 4 weeks of the season. I mean, they got Dallas coming up. It's been ugly.
Yeah. Well, luckily we don't need him to produce until week 6. So hopefully they find their footing by then. I think AJ in the chat is the Mahomes Kelsey drafter, as you brought that up a little bit earlier.
You're welcome.
We passed them up. It won't happen much when you're drafting with me, but we passed them up for now. So our team currently is Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, Mark Andrews, Ramondre Stevenson. We see Tua get moved all the way up to the 4th round, and I understand it.
He's
I don't
earned
hate it. He has. AJ is the Aaron Jones Waddle drafter. So nice to see you in here drafting with us. Yeah, the Tua, like that's the other thing you have to get used to with these drafts. Like Tua in the 4th round makes a ton of sense now, but because you've been drafting all summer and Tua was a 9th, 10th round pick or whatever he was, the sticker shock of some of these guys is going to still hit you as you're doing these drafts. Garrett Wilson, end of the 4th round. Wow. Sad to see. This Jonathan
I'd be
Taylor
shocked
pick
to
is
see.
real good.
I would be shocked to see Zach Wilson more than one more week. I don't know what other backup situation they got going over there, but
yeah, well, they just signed Trevor Siemian today.
Yeah, I saw that. So let's pull up their depth
It's
chart real
something.
quick.
It's a thing. Like it's something that they did.
They have currently Tim Boyle as the backup.
Like
Obviously, Rodgers on IR. I like anyone besides Zach Wilson, to be honest with you. So he looks so bad out there. He cannot throw the ball.
Man, we almost get Jahmyr Gibbs coming back to us. He doesn't quite make it. I'm Drake London here, unless you have something that you're seeing that you would prefer.
Could do that. The teams after us already have quarterbacks. We might be able to get Joe Burrow in the swing around if we want to go that route. If not, then could always go Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, let's grab Drake London. I'm going to teach you a lesson on streaming. If you actually really want somebody, never say their name. Never say their name. Because now people are going to have that guy in their sights and they're going to be looking. Artie is saying unstack Tua. Yeah, but I mean, this is okay. Let's get into this Dolphins thing because unstack Tua, I don't think is that crazy going forward because you're going to be looking to pair him with some of the backs now. You still might grab, I mean, Smythe sucks, but you can grab him late. If you want parts of this Miami offense, we've talked about Tua being the hardest quarterback to stack in general because the two main guys that you want are Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to stack with him, and usually you're bypassing him. I don't hate this strategy if it's implemented properly because he grabbed Zay Flowers, which felt like a big pull-up on Zay Flowers, to be honest. I have to think about that one a bit more. But if his plan is to go like A-Chain, Braxton Berrios late, I don't hate it. I don't think we need to be locked into having to stack Tua with Waddle or Tyreek Hill if you want to get that Miami offense. I don't think it should be a mandate that you have to have one of those other two guys to get Tua. That's how it felt in the offseason. It was a rule that I kind of live by. That's why my Tua ownership is low. And that was probably a leak from 99% of best ball players, right? Not saying that you should have went out and grabbed Tua every single draft, grabbed him with other guys other than those two quite frequently. But I think that our brain just went to, I don't have Tyreek. I don't have Jalen Waddle. There's no reason for me to take Tua when you could have been kind of doing some of those late round guys. You could have been grabbing Berrios in the 18th round. I mean, versus who? Think of some of your 18th round shit picks that you had. Would you rather have Braxton Berrios right now with Tua as a stack? Probably. So these are the things I think we need to be considering. We don't need to get take locked into being like unstack Tua. And I'm not trying to go off on you, Artie. I just think it is something that we need to evolve always. We need to constantly be evolving our takes. Johnny says that it's spooky season, bitches, which is true. It is spooky season.
It's the best season.
It is the best season. All right,
spooky season coincides with football season. It coincides with if you have children going back to school, and like, what? I get to be productive during the day again?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Which usually means
Yes.
I get to sleep off my hangover and play video games and then try to get as much work done before in like 1 hour. So I feel like it's a productive day before they get off the bus. But yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. So Tuesdays are always a busy day as I try to get through producing videos and streams and yada yada yada, and nobody actually cares. They just want to hear us talk about best ball. So I'll get back to that, where we see Alvin Kamara go in the 6th round, which might be a cheat code right now too, because when Kamara comes back, I feel like he's going to get a full complement, and he's obviously coming back next week. So this tournament doesn't start till week 6 yet again. I'll bring it up a few more times. Getting Kamara in the 6th round in this particular tournament is probably really, really good. We have Cobra Kai in the chat saying that he thinks Robbie Anderson is better for best ball. Probably a 0, but I think if something happened to Tyreek, he'd be best Tyreek replacement. As best as someone can be in that offense. Also, his name is now Chosen.
I was going to say his name is Chosen Anderson, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Or is
threw
it
me.
Robbie Chosen?
It threw me off the other day when I was like looking at, because me and you, we weren't able to watch football on Sunday because we had to go film, and I saw that name come up. I was like, "Who the hell is that?"
What the hell was he chosen for? A mediocre
Yeah.
career?
Yeah, fledgling NFL career. All right, so we are back on the clock now.
I think Cobra actually has a good. I'm sorry. Let's make our pick. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. Let's make our pick here. So we have a few ways we can go. We can go Joe Burrow. We could go Trevor Lawrence if we want to go quarterback. I think Dotson's still a good pick here. Do you have any preference?
I'd like to lock up our quarterback. I go Joe Burrow.
You want to go Burrow? And I mean, again, week 6, right? We're hoping that
week 6 he should be back into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So 6th round Joe Burrow. I'm fine with that. I think you could try to push him sometimes if you wanted to, but I'm fine with taking Joe Burrow here and going that route. So our team right now, we'll get to that point in a second, is Burrow, Ramondre, Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, Drake London, and Mark Andrews. What was the point that you wanted to bring up?
Oh, I was going to kind of address that, Robbie Anderson kind of sliding in if something happened to Tyreek. I mean, he's obviously got that. He's always had that deep threat ability, but he's always been kind of like a one-trick pony. Like he's got the go route. So I don't agree. I mean, Tyreek is just, there's no replacing Tyreek. And honestly, if he were to go down, then you have Waddle sliding into the 1 spot, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, it's so hard to game plan for both of them. And then you saw what happened this week with Tyreek Hill out, and I'm sorry, not Tyreek Hill, with Jaylen Waddle out, and the team was just fine. Like they have something very unique going with their offensive game plans. So I think Miami would be fine. It would be fine either way.
Yeah.
But I don't think Robbie Anderson is a viable replacement for Tyreek Hill.
I just think that in that offense, I think it's okay to take him late, just based on wanting exposure to Miami. And if something did happen, he's not going to replace Tyreek's production by any means, but he could be one of the pieces that helps replace or pulls up a smidgen of it.
Mm-hmm. And in best ball, that's fine, because in best ball, he might get that go route and then, get that spike week for you here and there. So obviously we need to address our running back situation. Where do you think about going here, as we have 17 seconds on the clock?
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't love any of the running backs as presented to us. Maybe Damian Pierce.
I guess Pierce or Dotson here.
God, that schedule for the playoffs is so bad for Pierce, though. The double Tennessee, that run defense is so good, but we'll grab Pierce for now. Not someone I'll be grabbing a ton in these drafts just based on the playoff structure, but for now, it's fine. We'll take him. All right, let's see what else is going on in the comments. Falk at the 1 poo-pooed his team with Waller. At the 101. Oh, we saw Puka go in the 4th. I was trying to gauge where he was going to go in this draft, so that's good to see. So Falk went Eckler, Barkley, Kenneth Walker, Puka, Tyler Lockett, and Darren Waller. I'm not big on Waller either. I don't think I would take him in the 6th round. That's why I either wanted to take Andrews or punt at the tight end position for the most part. I kind of agree. I don't think it's like his team's dead by any means, but I wouldn't have grabbed Darren Waller there. There's so many other things I would have done in that spot, personally.
He's built to be a superstar. He's just not very good.
What else do we got going on in the chat? LaMichael is saying that it was Craycraft till he got hurt. He'll even said that white chocolate steals all his TDs. Yeah, I mean, I liked Craycraft. I have to actually look more into that injury and see what's going on with it. See, like, is he going to be back by week 6? Is that another piece that we should be looking at in the Miami offense? I will be completely transparent and say that I have not gandered at that quite yet. Where
Clover's
did Laporta go?
went.
Did not go yet. Looks like he is still available. Yeah, Laporta is still available.
That's surprising to me.
Yeah, let's
shut up. Shut up.
Let's just shut up about it.
End the stream.
Don't worry about it. I think that there is some exploitation points for some of these offenses that people are worried about too. I think if we didn't go Joe Burrow, trying to push Trevor Lawrence would have been one of the other spots as well. I still think it's an idea of something we could do if we really wanted to be honest. I think people are worried about this Jacksonville offense now. I think the Cincinnati one's another one that people were worried about. So pushing Burrow, pushing Trevor Lawrence feels good. I do think those are offenses that can get it together and have absolute spike weeks. So I think those are things you need to be looking at in these resurrection drafts. Because if we have a game this Sunday where Jacksonville comes out and they throw 3 touchdowns, right? They have 3 to 4 touchdowns on offense. These prices are going to spike up. We're going to see Ridley move up just a little bit. We're going to see Trevor Lawrence move back up into the 6th, 7th round. And you're just going to see the transition of the offenses doing this as we go through these 3 weeks before this tournament starts. This is a great point by CJ saying that it's going to be interesting to see where Jameson Williams goes. Yeah, he'll be still suspended when this tournament starts, but only for a few games, theoretically. That will be interesting as well, because I think that Detroit needs Jameson Williams to come back badly. I think they need that other wide receiver. They've gotten some production other than Amon-Ra, but I think that they are really wanting him to get back. Josh Kelly going in the 8th round seems quite bad. Quite bad. Ugh, god damn it. I don't love a lot of things here, to be honest. Sky Moore feels right.
Yeah, I still like JSN. I don't mind Alexander Madison or Sky Moore.
I think we're going to do Sky Moore for the bring back. I don't.
Week 17 matchup.
You know what? We're going to do this. I'm going to call an audible. We're going to take Trevor Lawrence. We're going to be done at quarterback with Burrow and Lawrence. I have something else I want to do for wide receiver. We're getting a little weird with this team, and we're going to see if we can land the plane. We'll let the chat yell at me. We'll put this one on me, Jesse.
We might be rapidly landing the plane with a nosedive here, but you know what? I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, well, I have something I'd like to have happen, and it's going to gross me out if we actually have to do it, but I think there is a player with this particular team to take in the 9th round if he falls back to us. I don't love it, but we'll see what we get. This is a good player brought up in the chat as well. Cobra brings up Quentin Johnston. Just doesn't seem like the team is in love or ready to unleash him yet. We're still seeing other guys get the opportunity over him. I know Mike Williams is injured, so that to the point though, if you are going to take Quentin Johnston, this is the time to do it, because if he comes out and has a week or two, he's one of those guys that can rise up rapidly because people love the Chargers offense, and rightfully so. If you are going to grab Quentin Johnston, it is probably the time. We do see Quentin Johnston went at the beginning of the 8th round though. And we're going to be back on the clock in a moment here, where this draft, it just gets real ugly in this 9th round. Not a lot of things that we love. I was gonna hold my nose and take Miles Sanders with this next pick if it came to us, but it did not. So we are on the clock now.
2 of the options that we're talking about are still here. We do have Sky Moore or Alexander Madison. If you take Tony here, I'm going to punch my monitor.
I'm not taking Madison. I can promise you that. I'm
All
not
right.
taking any of these running backs. I actually like Rice a little bit more.
I like Sutton. Sutton
gonna-
here. Yeah, okay. You made the adjustments that I like. There we go.
We'll take Sutton because I think there is some Chiefs stuff we can do later for a bring back to our Cincinnati game. So right now, let's go over our team. We have Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Ramondre, Damian Pierce, Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, Drake London, Cortland Sutton, and Mark Andrews. Where did Tank Dell go? That's another good question. Let's see if we can find him. Let's see. Also, if you guys are calling out names that haven't gone and then people take them, I'm going to be so freaking sad. Because he went by
Bush Latte.
Yeah, so let's look at the draft board and see where he went. So Tank Dell went in the 7th, which is fair. Guys, I'm going to leave the draft board up. You guys can look and see who's gone where. Because if those guys are available, I'm going to want them. But Nico Collins
Yeah,
did go
Nico
in the
Collins
7th
did
as
go,
well.
yeah.
We do see Kadarius Toney go right after. Tutu Atwell going in the 9th round as well. So interesting. Where did Kyron go? As I do what I'm getting angry about. Kyron must have went though. Yeah, he went in the 5th round. So Kyron Williams, undrafted player for the most of the offseason, 5th rounder now. 5th rounder. And that just shows you how dusty your best ball teams can get immediately when the season starts. These players can just be DOA easily. All right, we are going to be coming back on the clock in a few picks. I'm just going to start looking through this list, see if I find any outliers here that I kind of like. Rashad Penny still has an ADP of 129. What are you guys doing? Guys should just listen to me. I try to tell you guys what's going on with these players, and
There's still believers out there.
You just don't listen to me. I told you that. The two things I told you is that Rashad Penny's dust and that Devontae Adams will not be a factor in the fantasy playoffs this year.
Yeah, we shall see. Johnny brings up that he thinks Cam Akers could be fun. I'm holding out hope because I do have a good chunk of Cam Akers going. So
I do think Cam Akers could be fun as well. I think that we clearly saw that him and the team did not get along over the past few years. So I think that he could come in there. He might be able to take that job from Madison. That's why I didn't want to draft Madison. He might be able to get the majority of the work over the next few weeks, and then he's just a slam dunk. I mean, they didn't trade for him for nothing. I mean, I know they traded nothing to get him, but they know that they're lacking production in the running back department of that team. They're 0-3. They're going to trade. They're going to see what they actually have in these players going forward. I do see people overreacting to that, though. We'll talk about that in 1 second. I think there's a pretty easy pick here, and I think it's Kenneth Gainwell. In the 10th round, we need running back help. Gainwell is clearly in this Eagles rotation.
He is,
Despite
every single time Swift gets the ball, he looks amazing so far.
He looks great.
But they're still just involving Gainwell. So let's just go with what's working here. I don't know if it's still going to be the story by week 6, which is when this tournament starts. But as of now, he's involved enough where I'm cool with that pick.
I don't think they're going to go away from Gainwell. I think that they are going to play the Swift card very much like they've been playing it. I think all that's done is cede some of Gainwell's work to him, but you're not going to see your Boston Scott, your Rashad Pennies. It's going to be Gainwell. It's going to be Swift. I like Swift more, obviously. Like Swift looks, like you said, amazing every time. So I'm still going to be looking at Kenneth Gainwell here, and a 10th round Kenneth Gainwell feels really, really strong on one of the best offenses in the league. We'll take him. All right, we're going to be coming back on the clock here. We see Stroud, we see Purdy go in the 11th round. Real interesting. They're going before Dak Prescott. So that's kind of something to note. Let's see if anybody else is standing out to us right now. You see anything that you like?
What do we have for wide receivers here? Tyler Boyd's been involved.
We
Other
could
than
grab
that, man.
we could grab Zay Jones. I think I like Zay Jones here.
Yeah, we could do that and get our stack with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I think that. Why did I click? What is
Don't do that.
this? Yeah, we're not doing that. I think that grabbing Zay Jones, we've seen that he's going to be in the 2 wide receiver sets when he's healthy. We already have Trevor Lawrence. Stacking both Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones feels good. I think we could still maybe get the double stack for Burrow if things break right. And I think we have one of our bringbacks for our Bengal stacks as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to look through and see some other things, certain guys that I'm looking for here as we go through this draft. Again, I hadn't looked at any of these ADPs. I had no idea what we were dealing with going into this draft, but I feel pretty good about this team currently. What are your thoughts?
I enjoy it. Yep. I'm still recovering from the shock of us discussing who we're going to take, and then you just sliding in our second quarterback. But these are 2 quarterbacks that I'm pretty heavy on already. So, it's just we're going to root for both these guys to catch fire by week 6, and we should be cooking.
All right. Let's see. Elijah Mitchell goes. There is another back that I would like to get in this 12th round that I think is probably being way underdrafted, to be completely honest, based on what I saw as I was scrolling through. But we'll see if we get him. I don't want to tip our hand too much. I do want to look at tight ends and see what we're on board here. We see Freiermuth still on board. Njoku, Dalton Kincaid, Tyler Higbee, Dalton Schultz, man. Thank God I wasn't drafting Dalton Schultz this offseason.
I stayed so far away from him.
That dude looks cooked. As good as that Houston passing game has looked, God damn it. There goes Algier. I was trying to push Algier one more round. I think he's probably being way underdrafted if you're getting him in the 11th round. That was the guy that we were definitely taking if he was still on board. But yeah, I think that it is donezo for Dalton Schultz. We saw other tight ends coming in, getting touchdowns and stuff this game.
Wow, Cobra has a team that has 624 points through 3 weeks. So, wow. I mean, if you have Keenan Allen, A-Chain, Pollard, yeah, Monra, that's good. Yeah, you got some good pieces. Ayuk as well. Ayuk had a big week.
That's a good scoring team.
So for those tight, do you want to pull back on the tight ends real quick? Because man, this is ugly. But Cole Kmet's actually okay, and Ferguson looks like he's going to be heavily involved. So those Higbee was okay as well, but I would lean either Kmet or Ferguson if we're looking to pick that up, but we could easily wait on that.
We'll look and see what we got going on still here. I was trying to throw off everybody by looking at tight ends. That was a mental game where I was like, if people are watching the draft, if I pull up the tight end board, maybe they'll start taking tight ends. And it didn't work. I wanted to get Algier to fall to us. Didn't happen. We see Zeke go at the 12:04. I do think that there is a couple players here that I am interested in. We see Tyler Boyd go. He would have been the good double stack for us with the Joe Burrow pick, but we do have Jamar Chase, so we're not super worried about that. We see all the dusty running backs that are left: Dalvin Cook, Antonio Gibson, AJ Dillon, Samaje Perine. Just good point. Carlos says that we mentioned Freiermuth and he went immediately. That is a good point. That is an absolutely great point. If we want to go tight end, we see Ferguson go. I think the easy pick here for tight end would be Dalton Kincaid. He is playing the position that we thought he might play, which is like a slot wide receiver. We have Ramondre. That would be our week 17 bring back for this team. But let's look at wide receiver before we pick that. Anyone jumping out to you here? It's gross.
It's good. It's pretty bad. You saw Mingo get targeted a few times on Sunday. I think that
we'll grab Kincaid. And
Thanks.
as-
I hate it. That's all right.
he's a wide receiver playing tight end.
He is, which is
and I didn't want to believe it in the offseason. So I don't have a ton of Dalton Kincaid on the other stuff, but the Bills have shown you that is what they're going to do with him. He is going to get mostly receiver reps, it seems like.
Mhm.
So him and Dawson Knox are playing essentially different positions. He's getting targeted. I mean, he didn't have a great game this past Sunday, but all in all, Dalton Kincaid is actually running routes and getting some targets.
And you're only going to see that increase as the weeks go. I mean, he's a talented player. He's going to get his targets, and we're talking about a tournament that starts in week 6. So that's a few more weeks of them getting more comfortable with him building more of a rapport with Josh Allen. It can only go up from here, I think. So I'm cool with it.
Yep. We're going to be back on the clock momentarily, and it sucks. Everything sucks. I hate all of it. I don't want to draft any of these players. I would rather die, but we can't. We have to endure, and we have to draft somebody.
Oh, God.
Anybody.
You've scrolled so far, and I haven't seen a single person I like.
Yeah, it's bad. It's quite bad. Right now we have a 2-3-5-2 build. We could grab another. Receiver's probably the way to go here, I would say. Let me just see something. Rashee Rice already went. I think we have to grab MVS.
Man. Once again, one catch on the year. That's tough. Maybe
he should have had 2 touchdowns.
We have our week 17 stuff. Yeah. All right. We can keep riding with it. I got like 90% exposure on MVS, and I've been real sad so far. But
we just get the win sprint king. He is the win sprint king. He's out there for all the snaps. Again, we know what he is. He's going to hit a few weeks. He's not going to do much for us generally, but he is our 6th wide receiver. So that is fine. And hopefully he just does it in week 17. For a bring back to the Bengals, let's go over our team real quick, where we have Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Pierce, Kenneth Gainwell, Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, Drake London, Cortland Sutton, Zay Jones, MVS, Mark Andrews, and Dalton Kincaid. The interesting thing about this team is I think we can stay with 2 picks at each of the onesie positions if we would like. Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. We have Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid. We could probably grab another tight end. Not because of the bye week stuff, but I don't know.
I'm not concerned about that. I mean, I would like to add a 3rd tight end to this build, but we need to take a look at our running back position.
I think it could go either way, to be honest. But yes, the running back position is going to be something we need to invest in a little bit. Did Elijah Mitchell go yet? Yes, he went. Again, I'm not gonna go and scroll for every single player. I am trying to pull the board up so that you guys can kind of look and see at some of these players, but Elijah Mitchell did go in the 11th round on this particular one. We see Wan'Dale go in the 13th round. I think that makes sense. Seeing Gerald Everett go in the 13th round is interesting because he's out there, he's running routes, but Parham's getting all like the high value routes for the tight end position. But that could change with the Mike Williams injury. So game of chess there, I would say. Taking the risk of grabbing him in the 13th round where he might produce over the next few weeks and move up.
Carlos says this contest is not fun. Sifting through more landmines than viable players is a rough experience. And this is why it's so different than drafting in the preseason or before the preseason. We have 3 weeks of data. We're seeing what players are being used and which ones aren't, and which ones just looks. This is like the number one year for players all of a sudden looking fat and old. Everyone looks fat and old. I look fat and old. Rob looks fat and old. Everything sucks. So it's tough to see, but it's like you have these players that are on brand new teams. You're like, ooh, what's Dalvin Cook going to do? The answer is nothing. And it is so disappointing to see. So it's tricky. It's so many players look so bad. And then some of them are just not involved at all. And this is just, you realize how wrong you were about some players. And it's depressing, but these things could still change. Injuries are going to happen and players are going to step up. They're going to learn the playbook and they're going to get more involved and everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Your team They're here to play football. They are professionals. Okay. Don't worry
My,
about it, Dalvin Cook owners.
I mean, I would worry about it. If I was a Dalvin Cook owner, I would be quite worried.
Yeah. All right. Dalvin Cook, bad example. Worry about it, Dalvin Cook owners. But, for those Kincaid guys, don't worry. He's going to be fine. He's going to get involved.
So I do want to elaborate on this not being fun, but we are coming up on the clock. So I'll have my little piece about that in a bit. But let's look and see what we got going on here in terms of players that we want to get. I think we are in the 14th round. I think this is where it just doesn't matter in terms of ADP. We grab the players that we want to grab and be happy with that. And I don't think we're going to be happy with any player that we draft.
This is a tough list.
It's a pretty bad list. I do think Chuba makes sense for this team.
Yeah, you saw him a little bit more involved this week.
He's a bring back to our Jacksonville stuff. Is it gross? Of course it is, but we know that this is going to be gross. And we'll get through our next pick, and then I will have my little talk about this being fun or not fun. I'm not going to say it's fun. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a blast trying to figure out these ADPs and everything like that, because it's a shock. But I have some thoughts. As we see, Kendrick Bourne does go in the 14th round here.
It does feel like we're in a brand new year. And I know we're 3 weeks in, but looking at the draft board and looking at how much the ADP have shuffled, you're looking at it, you're like, what is this? This is a new sport. It's wild to see, but this is what 3 weeks of data will give you.
Yeah. I mean, the tournament, and you're going to see this every single year. Every single year you do these resurrection drafts and in-season drafts. It's going to be different, and we will have that conversation shortly as we look through some of these players. It's bad, man. Let's do some scrolling.
You see Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a player that I will not mention because you do see him getting more. You see him getting more involved. I believe he had a touchdown this week. So you see this KC offense is really spreading it out with who's getting the touchdowns, who's getting the looks. I mean, they got a very, very young offense. So which players are going to be more involved, we'll see that develop over time. But so far, it's very much spread out. Obviously, it's still the Mahomes and Kelsey show, but you're seeing a lot of these guys get involved really early in the year, which is pretty promising if you're a player like, or if you're an owner like myself who has drafted a billion Kansas City Chiefs.
I really wanted to go Keontae Ingram here, but he goes 2 picks before us, so that sucks. That was kind of my play at this spot. I don't mind taking CH. It does make sense for this team. We do have some Cincinnati stuff. The other guy that I'm interested in is Chase Brown. We saw him get on the field a little bit more. I think I want to grab Chase Brown. I think it's a thin pick. I do like CH better, but for this team with a Joe Burrow, I think Chase Brown makes more sense. But if we didn't have the Burrow stack going on, I would have grabbed CEH over him. So
I see it as kind of a lateral move, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it just makes more sense when we're hoping that he gets some work with our team. So my thought process on this not being fun is you have to remember the difference between what we're doing now versus what we were doing in the offseason. We started drafting our teams in the offseason in February. You had the big board. You had some other tournaments come up before you even got to the main point of draft season. So you had already built calluses. You had already started getting your drafts in. You were already familiar with the board. After the NFL draft, you were still familiar with the board enough to move these rookies in the spot. You're only worried about where they got drafted and moving them into spots that make sense. So by the time you're drafting your main teams, you've already done it enough in most cases. Not everybody did them, but like in most cases, you were comfortable. And then you're getting even more comfortable throughout the summer as you draft for the 3 or 4 months of the main draft season. So you are comfortable with the board. Coming into this board, to your point, Jesse, after 3 weeks of data is going to be different, and rightfully so. So your brain is going back to what you were used to, what you were comfortable with, and it is a shock. It is always going to be a shock to your system when these in-season drafts drop. So I wouldn't say it's not fun. I would say it is a reevaluation of your brain trying to learn what it is. You just have to understand what you're walking into. And even when you're ready, your brain's still going to explode trying to figure out what the values are and stuff early. And it's going to
Yeah.
constantly be evolving.
Yeah, I don't think the real takeaway here is that this isn't fun. We all do this because it's fun, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when I think the main point here is we've seen who's playing and who isn't playing, and once you hit this point in the draft, it's like, all right, I don't even think it matters right now. It's like that's your first thought. You know that injuries are going to happen and players are going to get more involved, but you're looking at a list of players at this point that have a collective 5 points, and it's tough to look at. But this is why we do it. This is why we analyze. This is why we watch every game and just try to figure out who has the best chance of having a spike week here or there. Because there isn't players on this board right now that are going to turn into that guy that's going to get you 20 points every week. Those players are long gone, and that's fine.
Yeah. We are coming back on the clock here right after Big Truckin' makes his pick. We will make ours. And there's a chance, Jesse, that the player that we have queued up is still available.
Am I excited about it?
No.
No, I'm not. But it's there.
And there's the guy I was actually going to bring up and say, maybe we want to grab Mingo, but let's grab Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Let's just get another running back here. So we have a 2-6-6-2 build right now. We have 2 picks left. I do think we can go multiple ways with this last 2 picks. Yeah, there's nothing that I vehemently love, of course, as we've discussed.
Yeah, it's usually this part of the draft where I start picking up rookie Kansas City wide receivers and start thinking about that. I don't hate Alex Pierce. I think he could still turn it around. I mean, obviously, the Colts are in a situation with a quarterback that looks better than we thought he was going to be, but is doing his best RG3 impression and just going out there and getting himself absolutely murdered on every play. So he needs to learn to slide. But throwing the ball, a little bit better than I thought he was going to be, but the man can run. So it's a interesting situation over there. Are we thinking tight end?
I do like Alec Pierce for our 7th wide receiver. I think he's fine. I mean, is he having a great year? No, but like he's a home run hitter, and I think as a 7th wide receiver, that's a fine call by you. So I'll take Alec Pierce here. That's fine by me. And then we'll figure out what we're doing with the last pick. I would like to notate that Mac Jones is still going in the 17th round in these drafts. And as of right now, that could be an exploitable thing to be paying attention to. Is he great? No. Do I love him? No, but he's producing decently this season, you know? So like if you're looking for 3 quarterback builds or punting your 2nd quarterback and you're still getting Mac Jones in the 17th round, I think it's fine. All right, 1 pick left. Is there any? Sam Howell in the 15th. Right around Derek Carr. Matt Stafford in the 15th is interesting. I feel as though he might have got pushed up a little more than that. I mean, last night obviously wasn't great.
He has looked that whole team has looked better than everybody expected.
Yeah, I mean, easily.
That and the Cardinals. What happened there, Dallas? I'm extra mad at Dallas because I had like a 6-pick parlay and I just had them money lined to win it. Like, you just got to go out there and beat Arizona. You're the number 1 ranked team. How far down does that put Dallas for you? They're a bottom 3 team for me now.
I mean,
like, how do you lose to the Cardinals? You're supposed to be the best team in the. I get it. It happens, but holy.
It is Dallas. This is what Dallas does.
I knew it. I knew it. I'm like, okay. They beat up on some soft opponents week 1 and 2. Week 3, they get what's supposed to be the softest opponent.
Yeah, Michael Wilson is long gone. I was looking at him earlier. I know he went quite earlier, I think.
Are we down to our last pick? What? Yeah, we are.
Okay. We are. Yeah.
Do we discuss, or are we just going to sneak it in here?
We're going to wait a second. We're going to see what happens, because I do think it is a position that people are going to be looking towards. And I kind of want to hold off on talking about it a little bit. Yeah, well, I still don't like Cardinals players. I'd rather take CEH for this team than Michael Wilson based on the wide receivers we already had. So to answer that question in the chat, again, we needed RBs. We were light at the position. We were heavy on wide receiver. Michael Wilson is a guy that I'm fine with, but for this particular team, I mean, how much does he add? And the Cardinals are going to suck. Dallas is just going to do Dallas things occasionally.
Yeah, they're gonna behave like that.
What is Irv Smith's injury? Does anybody know? So I think we do grab tight end. They're all gross. There's nothing fun here.
Taysom Hill, smash play if you didn't just go. He's under quarterback actually.
Oh, well then we're not grabbing him because he's going to count as a quarterback.
Oh, so in this format he doesn't slide into like flex tight end.
No, so probably what happened. We'll grab Irv Smith. I don't love it,
fine.
but it's the double stack. So if he's at quarterback now, it's because that's what they changed his position to. Yeah, so he is a quarterback. So he's going to count under quarterback scoring for this tournament. So something to notate, because this was a big discussion point where I think it was FFPC that changed him. So he was getting drafted as a tight end. And because New Orleans listed him as a quarterback, they changed him at the end of draft season over. So if you drafted him as a tight end in that format, you now had to play him as a quarterback and not as a tight end, and people were losing their minds.
Oh no, see, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, they didn't do it on Underdog, they didn't do it on DraftKings. All the other sites kept him as a tight end, but because this is a new tournament and he's listed as a quarterback, they flipped him to quarterback now.
Okay, but so let's say on Underdog he is now listed as a quarterback. In leagues where you took him on Underdog as a tight end, is he still locked in at your tight end position, or are we getting boned here?
No, he's still a tight end on those ones.
Perfect.
But I think it was FFPC. Someone in the chat can probably correct me if I was wrong. That changed it, and it was a massive fight on Twitter because it technically is their rule, but it is bullshit.
You're jacking up your whole team. What if you have a one tight end build and that's your tight end? Now you have no tight ends. That's so tricky because it's so unique to Taysom Hill, and maybe like a handful of other players around the league, that to change your whole format for one player seems like overkill. But you have to, or at least lay down the rules on a player like that. They need to put like an asterisk.
Well, they did. The problem is they followed their rules, but their rules sucked is the problem. So their rule was that they would change it to the position by the time that the league season starts or something like that. This is a whole thing that people don't probably want to hear, but I think all the best ball sites, the fantasy sites did it the right way by making sure they kept him at tight end, and any new contest put him as a quarterback. So as we see in this one, he is a quarterback. So he's undraftable in these drafts, but as a tight end, he obviously was. But let's go over our team. We have Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence with Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Pierce, Kenneth Gainwell, Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jamar Chase, Calvin Ridley, Drake London, Cortland Sutton, Zay Jones, MVS, Alec Pierce, Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid, and Irv. Just Irv. He's got to earn the rest of his name for the season for me to say it, but we have a couple week 17 setups here with Cincinnati, Kansas City. Obviously, Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, Jamar, Irv Smith with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and MVS as a bringback. So we got a big week 17 stack there. We have Carolina, Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, and Chuba Hubbard coming back on that one. And then a little mini correlation with Ramondre and Dalton Kincaid. I actually think it's a fun team overall based on not doing any of these resurrection drafts yet, not knowing what we were looking at for ADP, getting some of these guys later. Like if we see Trevor Lawrence's ADP in this right now is technically 59, we got him at pick 92. Joe Burrow's is 52, we got him a little bit later at 68. I'm sure that's going to keep sliding though. What are your thoughts on the team? What are your thoughts on the resurrection draft?
I think the draft is a lot of fun. It's like we said, it's interesting to get into this with this data now that we're into week 3. I like our team. Honestly, I like the quarterbacks that we have. Wide receivers are good. Running back, we kind of punted that whole position, but it could be okay. I do expect Ramondre to bounce back and end up having a great year. And by week 6, it should be his backfield. And Zeke is Zeke. He's going to get those rushes, but we're not seeing the Patriots are the
Ramondre is who we thought he was going to be, where he wasn't going to get the workload that he got last year. They didn't want him to have that workload last year. People are overreacting to that still. Zeke is going to get touches in this offense. The Patriots have always played it kind of this way, but Ramondre is still going to be the guy getting 65, 70% of the work in this offense. So for people to I understand that he hasn't smashed yet this year, but I still think he has the opportunity to. I still think he is clearly, to your point, the more talented back.
Right. And look at the defenses that they've faced. They've had a very tough schedule, and it does soften up towards the middle of the season for them. So they're going to, by the time this tournament starts, I think they face Las Vegas and a couple other teams that they could have good games against. He's going to be fine. We don't know what's going to happen on the goal line yet, because the Patriots are one of those unique teams that never gets to the goal line. So they have scored points, but they're throwing the ball to get them. But I like this team except for MVS. Well, and this is from someone who's so heavy on MVS, but week 17, and you're going to get your occasional spike week from him. This is best ball, and it should be fine for him. So
we should have had it this last week. He should have had 2 touchdowns.
I know.
It was so sad. Anyways, that is going to do it for tonight for this resurrection draft. If you are not sick of my face and Jesse's face, at 9:00 tonight, you can catch us over at Hometown Ghost Stories, where we are covering the hauntings in Wellington, New Zealand. So it is spooky season. Come do some spooky stuff. Hang out with us in the chat there. It's a lot of fun. But until next time, you're going to start seeing some NBA, more resurrection drafts, more draft content from Spike Week. For myself, for Jesse Wilkins, we will catch you next time. Peace. Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.